All right, so let's move on to choking. This is something that freaks me out. I have three kids, and trying to teach them how to deal with solids. Even now, I hand my kid, the baby carrots. My littlest one is 2. Like she can handle it. She has full mouth of teeth, but like I'm
Yes.
still slicing, and because it still scares me. So, what's some good advice to prevent choking that you could give parents?
Gosh. So I'm going to talk about, are you familiar with baby-led weaning?
I am.
Okay. Well, in case you're a viewer and you have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, and every dad in my class is like, I'm sorry, baby, what? So, baby led weaning is kind of the new way of solid introduction. And so, every class I teach, I talk about baby led weaning because number one, I think that there is a huge societal push on using baby led weaning. And I think as a new moms have a lot of pressure in implementing baby led weaning, even if they are not fully comfortable with baby led weaning. So here's what I have to say about solid introduction, and then I'll answer your question. So, number one, please do not let anyone push you, like tempt you, or try to like bring you along the baby led weaning journey if you do not feel fully confident in helping your child if they choke. Okay, so that's like my biggest piece of advice is if you're not comfortable managing a choking child, baby led weaning should be put on pause and we should start with purees. Number two, learn what to do in the event of choking. So take a course. That's my little push for the medical mamas course. But I think that every parent implementing solid should feel fully confident in choking
Hmm.
maneuvers for that child's age, as well as performing CPR. Because guess what? If we can't get that object out of an airway, we're going to end up performing CPR. So before solid introduction, I really recommend every parent having CPR and choking education and feel confident in their abilities. And then when it comes to implementing solids, gosh, I would say learn how to prepare your child's food in a way that it is safe for them in the event that they were to choke. It's not going to fully occlude their airway. So 6 months is typically when pediatricians recommend starting solids for a baby. You want to make sure that they have really strong head control because if they've got a floppy neck, that food's going to be flopping around in there. So you want to make sure that they're able to sit fully unassisted and that they have an interest in food. I have such good news. Your child will not go to college on a bottle or a boob. And your child also will not go to college on purees. And so when it comes to implementing solids, make sure they're interested. Some kids at 6 months could care less if you're eating dinner at the table. They're just not ready. You don't have to push them. You want it to be a positive and fun experience, and it should not be stressful and overwhelming. My other big piece of advice when implementing solids is just as a reminder, breast milk and formula should be the primary source of nutrition for a child age 0 to 12 months. Any solid introduction really should be just for fun. So it shouldn't be that they're trying to get the caloric intake from those solids before breast milk or formula. You shouldn't like not give your kid a bottle so they'll eat more solids. Feed your kid their breast milk or formula first, and then secondarily offer solids after 6 months when they're ready and you're cleared by your pediatrician. Now, when it comes to solid preparation, like I said, you want to know what's safe to give your kiddo. So I obviously would not recommend doing anything like hard immediately when they have no teeth. So you want everything to be very, very, very soft and gentle, and then avoid anything like round because that's airway issues. So like I mentioned, when it comes to choking, no matter how old your kiddo is, my biggest piece of advice is just be mindful of like the size food you're giving them. Be watching your kiddo, and don't leave them unattended when they have food. So I don't care how old your kid is. I think that regardless, whenever kids are eating, just be so mindful of what they're eating and that you're present so that God forbid they choke, you're ready to react in that moment. So get yourself educated on how to perform choking maneuvers for kiddos and people of all ages. Because at the end of the day, God forbid your husband chokes, you want to be able to help them, or your dad, right? Or some member in your family. And so that's my biggest thing when it comes to choking, just being mindful of the shapes and the sizes. And then one of the biggest questions I get asked is about the Dechoker / LifeVac thing.
Yeah.
If you guys have not heard about this, it is all over social media. I
Yeah.
wish that I did as good of advertising as they do, because it's like everywhere. Anytime I scroll, it's like sponsored on my social. But for those of you that don't know it, I call it like a reverse plunger. So not that I'm an expert in plunging a poopy toilet, but when the toilet gets clogged, you push in and it like force negative pressure to push that object deeper down, right? And so you're plunging, and it pushes the toilet paper, whatever, stuff deeper, and then it flushes. The LifeVac or the Dechoker is opposite. You push in and there's a one-way valve that comes out the side, and it actually sucks out so that you pull that object out of the airway and comes out. Now, what do I say about the Dechokers? Because I literally get DMs all the time. At least one person in my course always brings it up. My biggest piece of advice comes from a point of empowerment, okay? There are a million tools. There's a million products, things that you can register for, things that you think you need. But here's what I'll tell you. In the event of an emergency, you do not have time to leave your choking child, run to your medicine cabinet, grab your Dechoker, open it up, fumble around, figure out how to use it. Which one do I push? Which one do I pull? What mask do I use? You have to be able to tend to your choking child. And so my biggest piece of advice is you always have your two hands, and you always have the knowledge that I will give you in my courses or in a CPR or choking course in order to intervene in that moment. And so my biggest piece of advice and what I tell all my families is, if you have bought a Dechoker or you have purchased a LifeVac, please open the box and play with it before you need it. Because if you're anything like me, when I got my air fryer, I either had raw chicken or burnt chicken. And there was no good chicken until about 10 times into my use. And you don't want to be messing with something in a life or death emergency state and trying to fumble around with how to use it. So if you have one, no shame, but just know how to use it so that you are prepared, and also know where it is. And if you leave your child in the care of someone else, make sure they know where it is, or make sure they're trained in how to perform CPR and choking maneuvers.